You have to see what's happening in Bitcoin's market structure on the daily chart as we're potentially forming this massive head and shoulder pattern here on the daily chart with a neckline sitting right at this monthly open. You can see with TradingView's head and shoulder indicator, it's going to validate this. If this highlights, bam, a validated head and shoulder pattern, I want to talk about whether or not this is going to break down towards our CME gap at 23,795, or if we're going to come all the way down to the previous all-time high at 20,000 US dollars. And Ethereum and altcoins are seeing massive gains. I'm going to tell you guys what my favorite altcoins are to trade and whether or not Ethereum is going to see more bullish action, or if there's a perfect entry to the downside that I'm watching, because I have got a lot of interesting things to cover with Ethereum's chart. You guys are watching the Snipers channel. My name is Naeem. If you appreciate this content, remember to like this video. Let's dive straight into this Bitcoin analysis, because as I just showed you, we've got this massive neckline here forming at the monthly open. It's almost as if these whales are making it easy for us with this monthly open. You can see we bounced here, and of course, not only are we bouncing there, but we've got that validated head and shoulder pattern forming here on the daily chart. And so understand that right now is a critical time for Bitcoin, because it is the weekend, and this is when you're going to see the most amount of manipulation in the cryptocurrency markets due to CME futures being closed. And so understand with what's happening to Bitcoin here, if we go into the micro analysis, we are starting to see a little bit of weakness when it comes to price action, because you can see here we have yet to test this major resistance level, and we actually turned right around here before we could even test this. And I don't want to be bearish or bullish. I want to be the umpire and take a neutral position and cover both sides of the equation. And so realize that if we're going to see a bullish scenario, we're going to start to have to close hourly candles above this major resistance level, and preferably above this weekly open. Now, I'm going to make it a tradition on this channel to keep these monthly and weekly opens on the chart, because I'm going to talk about a perfect Ethereum entry that I'm watching right now for those that have been waiting to get into Ethereum, and it all has to do with the monthly and weekly open. This is an indicator that a hedge fund manager told me to put on my chart, and that's how important it is. And realize that Bitcoin bottomed out here at this monthly open. It's how we caught the trade on our Discord. We even sent the trade out to our premium members way before Bitcoin came down to $29,000, and it was because it was just a simple monthly open. I even talked about it in my video that the monthly open is critical and it's key, and it's the most likely breakdown target from this symmetrical triangle. It's exactly what happened. So realize that for the bullish scenario with Bitcoin, we need to start closing hourly candles above this major resistance and this previous weekly open. Now I'm going to go ahead and move this previous weekly open down to our current weekly open, because this is going to reset by the start of this week. And understand that what the whales love to do is manipulate price towards these previous weekly and monthly opens. And so it will be a tradition on our channel to keep those on the chart with a green line, and then of course the red lines are always going to be support and resistance levels. Now understand that if Bitcoin fails to start forming any sort of support levels above this major resistance, then we're most likely going to see this head and shoulder pattern play out. And of course we've got this monthly open as the neckline, and typically with a head and shoulder pattern, if we were to draw a target out, let's take the top of this formation and see exactly where this could potentially break us down to. And you can see, wow, look at that. We potentially can see prices go back below the previous all-time high towards that $16,000 level. And of course, we've got a CME gap at 18,460. We've got the previous all-time high at 19,798. And then we've got a CME gap at 23,795. These will most likely all act as levels for Bitcoin to bounce. But understand that even if we were to look at volume, it is indicative of a head and shoulder pattern on the daily chart. Because as you can see with this chart, volume, we've got ascending volume here heading towards the head of this formation, and then we've got descending volume heading towards the right shoulder of this head and shoulder. And so that is all indicative of a head and shoulder pattern. And so everything is lining up to say that there is a potential bearish pattern forming right now on Bitcoin's chart. And most interestingly enough, when we pull up Ethereum's chart, understand that we're also forming a bearish flag. Now realize that with any sort of uptrend, you want to see an uptrend and a consolidation. But usually you want to see the consolidation form lower highs and not higher highs, because higher highs are indicative of a bear flag, while lower highs are indicative of a bullish flag that breaks out. So understand that with this flag formation, any consolidation in uptrend typically will lead to another breakout. But if we start to form bearish consolidation patterns, there becomes a highly probable downside potential from the consolidation period. And so this could potentially break down. And guess what? You've got our best friend here, the monthly open sitting at $740 for Ethereum. If I were to look for an entry into Ethereum, I think that $740 mark is going to be a prime entry for Ethereum, because guess what? On the macro, we're still extremely bullish for Ethereum. When you look at this major cup and handle formation, our previous all-time high at 1440 was not breached, and we only formed a massive cup here. And so if we start to look at this pattern, what you can see here is Bitcoin can most likely come down to this, or I'm sorry, Ethereum can come down to this monthly open and still be in a very bullish formation, as it forms a cup here and a handle that could potentially break us out to extreme highs. If we actually take the top of this and bring it down to the base of this cup, we are talking about massive gains for Ethereum. If this were to break out, that alone could result in over 90% gains. And interestingly enough, that goes in line with what we talked about 2 videos ago with the most bullish chart that I've ever seen in the history of cryptocurrencies. You actually have to go to Poloniex to see the chart, because it's the only exchange with enough price history. But you can see the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart seeing a potential of a 500% breakout here, with this major symmetrical triangle on the weekly chart already starting to break out. And so Ethereum is looking really tasty into this altcoin season. And if we pull up this more micro analysis of Ethereum's chart against Bitcoin, we're seeing very nice action here. And just like I talked about, we're seeing lower highs form, we're not seeing higher highs. And so this right here is a bullish flag that already starting to break out, and we'll most likely see that break out, because when we look at altcoin dominance, we're seeing a lot of pressure coming into altcoins and moving away from Bitcoin during this altcoin season. And so just as we've been predicting in our channel, everything is happening as planned. If you guys want to stay up to date and be the first ones with this information, remember to subscribe to the channel, but most importantly, turn on those post notifications and click that bell, because that's how you'll get updated first with all of the content and information. And so realize that when we look at Bitcoin dominance, we're continuing to form lower lows. So altcoin season is still in effect. And when we look at others' dominance, it's the opposite. We're starting to see altcoins see major buy pressure from institutions and retail investors. When we look at the daily chart, you can see we're just smashing through the 50-day moving average, now smashing through the 100-day moving average, heading towards this 200-period moving average. On the weekly chart, you can see we're already towards this 50-period moving average on the weekly chart. So this is a very different altcoin cycle than we saw in 2019 and in 2018. You can see in 2019 we came and tested the 200 period, but we stayed below it before breaking to the upside. This time we have the DeFi revolution. We have over 20 billion locked up, and so we're seeing massive institutional interest in altcoins, with Grayscale adding Link and adding Filecoin and some of these other coins into their basket of institutionally graded assets. And so understand that that trend will most likely continue, and we're starting to see a lot of strength with altcoins. I want to talk about my personal favorite altcoins to trade. For those in our Discord group, we recently took a trade on this DeFi coin, USDT, with an entry at $27.49. I want to talk about why we entered this trade and some other altcoins that I like to trade because of their DeFi properties. You can see with this specific trade, it was a very simple trade. We actually took an entry right here at 27.49 after I saw an inverse head and shoulder pattern forming. And so this was basic market structure. We took a trade here, and that resulted in massive profits because these altcoins have such a small market cap. This alone already resulted in over 5% profits. And so that was USDT. And this is how I find the altcoins that I want to trade. Simply just go to coinmarketcap.com and just click the DeFi tab here. These are all DeFi coins. This is the reason we're seeing major institutional interest in this market. It's all about the DeFi revolution. That's why Aave is doing so well, Uniswap is doing so well, Chainlink is doing so well. And understand that with the DeFi pulse, you can see here we're seeing massive liquidity flow into this market, over 20 billion already into this market, locked into US dollars, into the DeFi protocols on Ethereum. And so that to me is where we're going to see the most amount of gains. We even took a trade on Yearn.finance here. This was a very simple trade here. This was all based on volume actually. So we actually entered right here before we broke out. And the reason I sent this trade out for Yearn.finance, as you can see in our Discord group, for those not in our Discord, the link is in the description below. You can see this also hit all targets. This was yesterday at 8:19 p.m. with an entry at 18:30. The reason we took this was simply a volume trade. Guys, remember, the most important parts of trading, number one is market structure. That's why there was an inverse head and shoulder with TRB, and we took that trade. With the second most important aspect of trading, it's price action, volume, right? That's why we took this trade with Yearn.finance. I saw this random amount of buy pressure coming out of nowhere. And so what I said to myself was, all right, what's the most recent resistance level? Bam, we saw resistance here. I kept my eye on that number. I sent it out to our Discord, 1830. And of course, because we saw volume come in, more volume came in, and that broke us out. And because these coins have such small market caps, that alone, over 4% gains on that trade. So understand that, number one, you want to make sure you're trading the right basket of altcoins, and number two, you're following the principles of trading. And so much happening right now in the market. I am super excited to see what happens this weekend. Of course, the weekends are always the most manipulated because CME futures are closed. So if you guys appreciate this content, remember to like this video, and I will see you guys tomorrow. And that's it for today. See you guys on the Discord. Snipers out.